I want to do some videos covering the aspects of the self with Norse concepts, and obviously it's going to be several videos. I'm not sure how many, so stay tuned. But a lot of this is going to be information that is sourced from many resources, one of them being Erich Harger. He's a very good source, and I highly recommend his information. It is greatly and wonderfully explained. But to start, we're going to start with the leek. So the leek itself is your body. It is your physical form in this plane and realm. It is your skin, your muscles, your tissue, your skeleton. It is, as my favorite Star Wars droid would say, it is your meat bag. It is the thing which carries your self. It is not specific to you, as explained later. Other things can take over your leek, but for the most part, it is your vessel. Along with the leek were aspects of the self, one of them being the und. It is essentially the divine spark, that which gives life. It is the breath of life. Now the ud is essentially divine passion or inspiration. It is that which gives you reason to live. Now, the mental aspects would be hugur and mini. Hugur and mini are essentially the roots for hugin and munin. It is mind, consciousness, analytical thought, and cognitive thinking. Mini, being like memory, was obviously memories. But unlike the memories that we have are essentially snapshots, it could be used to access the past, aiding in the idea that time for the Norse was not linear. Another aspect of the self was the fylgja. The fylgja was essentially your spirit guide or your guardian. It was very personal to you. It would often take the form of an animal, somebody of the opposite sex, or just an abstract form. It would follow you from your life to your death. Interesting thing though is when you died, your fylgja could live on and it could be passed on to your descendants. But if your fylgja died, you would die. It would take on your traits and personalities, similar to the demons in His Dark Materials. It was also similar for the person to take on traits and personalities of their fylgja, similar but different, and a lot of times this can be contributed to shapeshifting, similar to how berserkers were said to take on the forms of their fylgja and create themselves into the animal forms that their fylgja took. Another spirit similar to the fylgja is the vortor, the vard. Now this was more of a guardian spirit, and it was kind of more like a ghost than an actual entity or something physical that you can interact with, such as the fylgja. But it followed you from your birth to your death, and it had access to all of the information that you had while you were living. That included your hugur and your mini. Now the interesting thing is when you died, it could actually take over your leek or your body, and it would become a draugr. Draugrs are not zombies. They are very sentient, they are very conscious. They are just you, the husk of what you were, minus your life spark. This can be accessed for information such as Odin did in the Voluspa. There's actually a song that's used by seeresses to access the Vard of people to get information out of them called the Vardlokur. Another important aspect to the self was the hamr. The hamr was essentially your form. Now, in Midgard, what we knew, your body, your meat bag, your flesh, your skin, your bones, all of that was your hamr in this realm, world, existence, plane, whatever you want to call it. But it could change depending on if you went somewhere else or shapeshifted. If you were a shapeshifter, such as how the berserkers were thought to be, your hamr would be whatever you changed into. So if they had an animal spirit like a fylgja that they transformed into, that would become their new hamr. It's essentially whatever vessel you have in whatever space or existence you're in at that time. It can change, it adapts, and it pretty much gives you all the tools and resources you have or need to exist in that plane of existence. The last couple concepts I want to cover are Mægan and Hamingja. Mægan is essentially your personal power, your energy, or your magic source. When you make offerings to the Landvetter, the gods, or anything like that, that's sort of what you exchange to them. You're giving part of you to take a part of theirs. It's an equivalency exchange of either magic power or energy, depending on how you want to see it. Now, Hamingja is the personification of luck. It can be a stat modifier to your abilities and your skills that you have either naturally or through hereditary inheritance, essentially. Any genetic stuff can be modified and strengthened and enhanced by this Hamingja. It can alter social status, it can alter opportunities for economic and financial growth, or it can just mean that you have a really shitty time for the rest of your life, depending on the kind of choices you have and how strong or weak your Hamingja